record. Okay, and sit yourself on your lift. Come into a good cross-leg position so that you feel like you're sitting level on your seat. And just find your levelness. This cushion's really good for this because it's like kind of got, I don't know, it's probably buckwheat or something in there. And so it kind of molds to your seat. And so you can wriggle about until it feels level. You can also kind of roll over and move the buttock flesh back and out to the side just to really feel like you're placing your seat bones really firmly down onto the floor. Hold onto your knees and lift and open the chest. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Spend just a few moments just listening to the breath. So without forcing the breath, just allowing the breath to be natural. Just observe the length of the breath. So does it feel naturally shallow this morning, or does it feel quite slow and deep? As you observe the breath, soften the jaw, soften the tongue. As you inhale, observe that you bring in energy. Close your eyes as you inhale. Feel that the breath inflates both lungs evenly. Feel that the chest lifts and upwards and outwards with the in-breath and relaxes with the out-breath. Take a good deep inhalation, and with an exhalation, bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together. Keep your eyes closed. Just focusing on the inhalation and the exhalation. Observing the breath, observing the energy of the breath as you inhale, allowing that energy to spread into the limbs. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. And then as you hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, just gently allow your eyes to softly open. Hold on to your knees, lift and open the chest, driving the spine upwards. Press the perineum consciously down onto the cushion. Lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing the abdomen across, the ribs across, the shoulders across. Turning the abdomen, drawing the belly button to point at that right knee and beyond. Use the out breath to intensify the turn. So we breathe in energy, we exhale power. Feel as though you inflate down into the arms, into the fingers, into the toes. Come back to the center, grip around, hold around your knees, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards. Take a full deep inhalation into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, and then with the exhalation, turn. So feel as though you inhale into the fingertips and into the tips of the toes, into the top of the head. So although in effect we don't do that, the blood that we oxygenate through the breath does do that. So conscious inhalations can drive that breath, the energy of the breath, through the body beyond the lungs. And come back to the center. Just sit back on your heels for a moment. Just allow the shins to make contact with the mat and lift and drive the chest upwards. Just take a deep inhalation, a deep exhalation. Feeling as though you inhale into the fingertips, into the tips of the toes, into the top of the head. And then on an exhalation, come forwards, maintaining that connection between the seat bones and your heels if you can. And then come down. Come down slowly, maintaining that connection between the seat bones and the heels. So not in a rush to come forwards. Continuing to breathe into the fingertips, into the tip toes, into the top of the head. As though we're inflating the whole body, not just the lungs. Energizing the body through the oxygen within the breath. Come up onto all fours, have your little fingers on the edge of the mat, stretch the thumbs towards each other, turn your toes under, and then with bent knees initially come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bending the knees so that you can lift the seat bones. Just bring this pose as an initiation into the body. Continuing to breathe into the limbs. Straightening the legs. Not holding the breath, allowing the breath to flow, but just consciously filling the limbs and the torso and the head with the breath. Brings a sense of lightness to the limbs. Maintaining the connection of the palms of the hands with the floor. Step the feet forward, come up into a standing position, and then align the edge of your feet with the edge of your mat. Raise your arms up. Hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows. Keeping the front chest long. Come forwards, hinging at the hips, but go up with an out breath. Going down into uttanasana on an out breath. And then let the top of the body hang down. Continue to use the in-breath to inflate into the cells of the legs and of the arms and of the torso and of the head. Lift the legs away from the floor. So the feet are firmly planted. Hit your weight back so that your weight goes into your heels, but then lift the shins out of the ankle sockets, lift the kneecaps, lift the thigh bones up into the hip socket. Find that lightness that comes from breathing, connecting with the in-breath, physically connecting the body with the breath. Maintain the lifting of the kneecaps, lifting of the thigh muscles, the turning in of the fronts of the thighs, the turning out of the backs of the thighs. Release your hands down to the floor and then come into half uttanasana. Use blocks under your hands if you find it difficult to reach. Project the chin and the chest forwards. Keep the legs really firm. The heels of the feet stamping down into the floor, lifting the shins out of the ankle sockets, lifting the kneecaps, lifting the thighs, lifting the thigh muscles and the bones up into the hip socket. Projecting the chin and the chest away from the hips, making the back straight. Inhaling into the toes, into the fingers, into the head, into the torso. Bring your left hand into the middle of the mat so it sits kind of underneath your head slightly. Bring your right hand onto the small of your back. Project the chin and the chest forwards, and then turn the chest, turn the spine to turn to the right side, drawing the right shoulder towards the kind of side, the left side of the room, drawing the other shoulder towards the right side of the room. And then release. Just come back to half uttanasana. And then bring your right hand into the center of the mat, just underneath your head. Bring the left hand into the small of the back. So if you're using blocks, bring the block into the middle. That's it. And then turn to the left. Continuing to breathe into the limbs. So that the skin starts to feel as though it's full of oxygenated blood. Come back to the center, just come back to your half uttanasana using blocks if you need to. Projecting that chin and chest away from the legs. Don't let the legs hit forwards as you hit the chin and the chest forwards. Hit the legs back. Project the chest forwards a little bit more. From there, walk your hands forward. So bend your knees if you need to, but keep your legs straight if you can. Walk your hands forwards, have the hands shoulder width apart. Feel the palms spread underneath the palm skin, underneath the mat, and then step the feet hip width apart. Coming back into dog down. Breathe in deeply into the limbs. Okay, and then step your feet forwards and then come up into standing position. Just have the inner edge of your feet together, spreading the toes, coming to Tadasana. Tightening the action in the kneecaps, turning the thighs inwards, tucking the tailbone inwards. Lifting the front chest, lengthening down from the shoulders into the fingertips, lengthening out of the torso into the neck, into the head. Just continue to breathe down into the fingertips, into the tips of the toes, to the top of the head. So it can take a few breaths to really get that sense, because we've kind of changed the direction of gravity to a degree, or at least our perception of it. Feel where your feet are on the mat without looking with the eyes. Work through the feeling of the pose. Spread the toes deeply of the left foot. Lift the shorts on the left side if you can a little, and then keep that left leg firmly in Tadasana and bring the right foot up into the top of the leg towards the perineum. Press the standing leg firmly into that lifted foot. Press the foot firmly into the lifted leg. Lift and open the chest. With the arms at the sides to start off with, just be in this first stage and just breathe into the limbs. Allow the outer thigh of the standing leg to squeeze in towards that bent leg foot. And then raise your arms up, advisable arms. So turning the palms to face each other. I have to kind of hold on to my hands because there's not enough ceiling height for virasana, unfortunately. That sometimes makes you feel a bit wobbly. So virasana is better. As you raise the arms, perceive the foot, perceive the breath, perceive that outer thigh squeezing into the bent leg foot. Push the foot firmly into the thigh. Breathe into the limbs. And then release your arms, release the leg. And then come back into Tadasana. Feel where your feet are. Feel how the skin connects to the mat. Breathe evenly into the limbs. Spread the toes deeply of the right leg. If you can, just lift your shorts a little just to give you a bit of better skin contact. Firm up that standing leg. Really tadasanaize that standing leg and then bring the left foot as high up into the thigh without disturbing your tadasana leg. And then just have your hands at the sides to start off with. Squeeze the outer thigh of the standing leg into the foot. Press the foot into the outer leg. Breathe into the limbs. And then raise your arms. Just focus in on the breath. Breathing into the limbs. Breathing into the skin. Finding that lightness of consciousness in the limbs. Finding the lightness of activation. Okay, and then just release your arms, release the leg, and then just come back into Tadasana. Just feel how the feet connect with the floor. Lift the shins out of the floor, lift the kneecaps out of the shins, lift the thighs up into the hip socket. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards, and then tuck the tailbone in. Breathing into the limbs. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step or jump the feet apart and just feel how you make contact with the floor. So make the outside edge of the feet make contact with the floor as much as the inner edge of the feet. Try and lift the insteps, lift the ankle, the inner ankle bone up towards the shin. Turn your left toes in slightly and then pick up the heel of the other foot. Turn the right foot all the way out. Just feel that your feet are in the correct alignment. Feel that this back leg, the left leg, the outer edge of the foot is in good contact with the floor. The instep is lifting slightly. The front thigh is turning from the big toe side to the little toe side. Breathe into the limbs and come down on an out breath. Turn the chest, look upwards. Observe what has gone wrong. Observe what's gone wrong with the weight of the pose. Has it just collapsed onto the right leg, or is that left leg really firmly pressing down into the floor? Turn the chest to look upwards. Breathe in into the limbs. Maintaining the back leg. So that's that left leg, maintaining that back leg firmness, really working from the hip down into the heel, into the outside edge of that foot. Breathing into the limbs. Come up on an out breath. Just swap the feet around, turn the right toes in and the left leg and foot all the way out. Just feel your feet are in the right alignment. Just have a quick look just to make sure and adjust if necessary. But it's trying to trust our perception. Activate the legs. Turn this front leg from the inside to the outside. Turn that thigh. Turn the front of the thigh. Make sure that this foot here is parallel, at least, to this foot. It's not, the toes aren't closer to the edge of the mat than the heel. So the toes and the heel are in line and they're parallel to the edge of the mat. And then come down on an out breath. Observe what goes wrong and correct it. So it starts with the feet. Press the feet of that back foot firmly into the foot of the back foot into the floor. Turn the chest. Breathe into the limbs. So if you can reach the floor with the hand, so if you're kind of hovering there, that's kind of quite strong. But if you reach behind the foot and maybe see if you can find the floor, just even with the fingers, and then turn the chest. Breathe into the limbs. Perceive the body in 3 dimensions. If it was radiating out from the pelvis, radiate evenly through each of the limbs, through the torso, through the head. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. Bring your feet hip width apart, turn your toes in, raise your arms, hook your thumbs into the crease of the elbow, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then hang down. Continuing to work with your breath. Look for evenness in sensation. If you find that you're shaking a little through overexertion, then try and draw your effort into the breath in that area of the body. Try and feel the breath into that area of the body and ease off the effort, but without dropping. Connect with the breath. Release the hands to the floor, come up into a standing position, and then just come down onto your back and come down into supta baddha. Soles of the feet together, knees are apart, just rest into the mat initially. Again, just feeling that you can breathe into the limbs. So maybe your skin feels alive, maybe particularly where the skin is exposed to the air. Just observe the breath. Observe the skin, the feeling of the skin. The skin is the biggest organ of the body, but we often forget to take care of the skin, to observe the skin, to feel the skin. Our skin is our protective layer. And becoming observant of the sensations of the skin is a pratyaharic approach to moving deeper into our asana practice. Okay, draw your knees together, pull your knees into your chest, and then roll yourself up into a seated position. So we can do supta padanguthasana 1 and 2. So you'll need a belt. So grab yourself a belt. And then we're going to come down back onto our backs. If your head rolls back, you can have a blanket underneath your head. Just going to move my mat a little so I've got a bit more room. So just come into Tadasana along the floor, beware of the belt, where you can reach the belt. If your head rolls back, have a blanket for underneath your head. Just do Tadasana along the floor. Have a quick look up, make sure you're in a straight line. Take hold of the belt and then bend the right knee and then hook the belt around the right foot and then elevate that leg up to 90 degrees if you can. Activate the left leg, turning the thigh of that left leg, keeping that left leg standing in Tadasana. Press the shin into the floor of that left leg. See if you can straighten this lifted leg. If you can't straighten it, then just change the angle. Just let yourself have a kind of a less 90-degree angle. Go to even 45 degrees so you can straighten the leg. So push the heel away. Lift and open the chest. Go to 90 degrees with that leg if you can, but otherwise go less than 90. Just feel how the hips are in contact with the floor. Turn the thigh of the left leg so that the left buttock bone kind of spreads out a little, so the hips feel in contact evenly. Usually the right hip feels heavier than the left hip. So can you lengthen from the left armpit into the left hip? Can you lengthen from the buttock bone into the thigh, into the shin, into the inner heel of that left leg? Trying to even out that weight. It's difficult, isn't it? But we can at least try. And then keep the hips level and then lengthen the spine up and almost kind of sneak in the spine away from the hips. Breathe in evenly. Take hold of both ends of the belt with your right hand as close to the foot as you can without bending the knee. Rest your left hand on the left hip and then bring that right leg out to the side. Bending your right elbow out in line with your shoulder. Bring that leg out to the side. Just spend a few moments breathing into the limbs. Try and broaden the front of the left pelvis so that the left buttock bone stays firmly down onto the floor. Breathe into the limbs. This leg shouldn't be on the floor. The big toe should be out in line with your ear if you can. Breathe into the limbs, into the torso, into the head. Breathe into both legs, not just the right leg. Bring in lightness and energy into the limbs through the breath. Using your perception to distribute your breath. Okay, and then bring that leg back to the center and then unhook the foot and then just rest your right leg, just rest down into the floor. So let the legs relax. And then observe the kind of noticeable difference between the feeling of the two legs. Maybe your right leg feels like it's lower into the floor than the left leg. Maybe it feels longer. It's really just how we've energized that leg. Come back into Tadasana. Just feel that you're in a straight line. And then just have a quick look, make sure that you definitely are. Bend up the left foot this time. Hook the belt around the ball joint of the left foot. And then extend that leg up into the air. to 90 degrees if you can. Now I've got a bit of an injury in this heel, so I'm going to be a bit more gentle with this side so I don't aggravate it. So I'm not quite at 90 degrees. If I bring it back, well, actually it's all right, but I don't want to push it, so not quite at 90 degrees, but bring it to 90 degrees if you can. But the most important thing is to keep that leg straight. Work into the right leg, tadasanalize that right leg. Feel from the hips, the levelness of the hips. Try and work that right leg so that the hips feel level in terms of the weight on the floor. Breathe into the limbs. Take hold of the belt a little closer to the foot if you can on that with the left hand. Rest the right hand on the right hip, broadening that front pelvis outwards a little bit if you can. And then bend your left elbow out in line with your shoulder, bringing that leg out to the side, maintaining the firmness of this right leg. Breathe into the limbs. Maintain the firmness of the right leg. It's the foundation of the pose. It's like you're doing tadasana with that right leg. Feel how the weight underneath the hips feels. Is the right hip lighter than the left hip? Work to overcome that. Lengthen the spine out of the hips. Breathe into the limbs. And then bring that leg back to the center, unhook the foot, and then just rest down into the floor. Maybe if you observe the action of the legs, maybe the legs feel a little more even. Just breathe evenly. Okay, and then bend your knees, pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, and then just roll yourself up into a seated position. Just sit back on your heels and just come into Adho Mukha Virasana, just stretching yourself out. Try and maintain that connection between the seat bones and the heels. Breathing into the limbs. So breathing into the feet as well as the hands. So it's as though we inundate the body with awareness. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, sit yourself up into a cross, just sit yourself into cross legs. Hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards. Take a deep inhalation into the limbs and then turn to the right side. So just observe how the body feels. Maybe the body feels momentarily heavy. So inundate the body with the breath, using the out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center. Hold around your knees, lift and open the chest. And then turn to the left. Using your out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center. Just come down onto your back. Hold onto the edges of the mat and then raise your legs up to 12 o'clock. So pushing the heels away from the hips. So again, I've got this kind of heel injury on this left foot, so I'm keeping that soft. But press the sacrum spine into the floor and then lift the heels up away from the sacrum. Tadasanaising those legs, so have the big toes together. You can turn the thighs inwards and then the heels come apart. Really connecting that sacrum spine into the floor so you can lengthen the upper spine away from that sacrum spine and the legs up away from the sacrum spine. So feeling the sacrum spine connecting with the floor really firmly. And then just release, bend your knees, get your blanket, have the blanket for underneath your head, just bring it down to the shoulders so it's supporting the back of your neck as well. Just do Tadasana along the floor. Just feel that you're in a straight line. Just have a quick look, make sure that you are. Move any equipment out of the way. Bring your arms out to the sides of the body. Let your feet fall apart, let the legs relax. And then just focus on deep inhalations into the limbs, deep exhalations. Consciously unhooking the muscles of the arms and of the legs. Allowing the arms and the legs to completely let go. Feel the energy rising to the top of the skin, to the upper facing skin. Feel that you can evenly distribute that feeling of energetic lightness evenly throughout the body, down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. Observing that feeling of energetic lightness. And then wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bring yourself back into this pose of sirvasana. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest. Just give yourself a grounding massage on the spine, just a really gentle rocking from side to side, from top to bottom, just gentle massage. And then roll onto your right side. Rub the palms of your hands briskly together to create heat between the palms of your hands. And then cover your eyes with your warm palms and open your eyes and look into the warm palms. Allowing the energy and the warmth of the hands to seep into the eyes. And then just like the sun coming up over the horizon, just gently release your hands from your face. Just a little bit at a time until the light comes back into your eyes, and then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just final cross legs with your hands in namaste, a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Feel how you have filled your body with positive energy, brimming with health and vitality. So through the practice of the poses and the twists and the extensions and the reclining poses, the inversions, we bring energy to the body and to the mind. Bring the chin down to the chest. Just observe positive energy that you have filled the body with, and send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. As you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have kind of filled your body with energy and you've given yourself lots of positive energy for your day. So thank you very much.